I want to welcome everybody here, especially those of you who are here for a first time or second time, third time, some still checking us out. I hope we shine bright enough for you and you'll come back. And for those who are online, welcome as well. It's always good to have you, even though we don't see you. For those of you who don't know, who are here in this room, we have meditation at 10:30. We meditate for 20 minutes, and in my opinion, it sets the conditions for the experience that everybody walks into. And so if you walk into this place, and it happens to some people, it doesn't happen to everybody, and you start to cry, you can thank us. We tried to set the conditions for you to feel as though anything you felt or thought or had on your mind was okay. And okay to let it go, and okay to have it. That is the basis of part of the cultural philosophy of this church, which is that you are to be accepted as you are, and we're not here to change you, although we might push a little. Just a little. So we're working on this, the concepts in this book, which is called The Inner Work of Age, Shifting from Role to Soul. And there are small groups that are meeting about this. They'll be studying this in depth, and I'll do one more talk next week about it, and then we'll move on the Sundays, but they will continue for 9 weeks. And the reason they're taking over 2 months to do this is that essentially in our culture, we are not very respectful of old age or aging or shifting from your role to soul. We're not particularly good at that. And because we're not good at that, each of us have built into us, culturally indoctrinated into us, this idea that there's something wrong with getting old or aging or not being the super productive person, that your role is who you are, and your soul is secondary. We don't really care. And so quite easily you can become distant from what is possible as we begin to change and move into our latter years. And while this might sound like this is only for people over 50, this is really starts, if you're going to do this, you should start as soon as possible. It's a lot like your 401k. If you wait 10 years, you're going to lose 10 years of interest. So if you start on your spiritual practice at 20 or 15 or 30, it's better than if you wait till you're 50. Though like most people on their 401k, you can do some catching up. Especially if you have more time, especially if you retire. You can do those catch-ups on this process, but it really pays to get out there early and start, because the fundamentals don't change even as you change your body. The fundamentals are really about reducing our identification. The spiritual journey is reducing our identification on that which is outer and coming to honor and explore that which is inner. That can start anytime. Most of us don't get to it until we have our first divorce. And then it seems really important. Somehow, that little magic world we thought we were creating, we're not.
Where the outer starts falling apart.
Yeah. I had a very big experience of the outer falling apart just yesterday. Would you like to hear? So my sister asked me to come. She just built a beach house in the last year, and she has a dock, but she didn't have steps down into the water, and she's going to rent it. So she was really eager to get the steps, because I had promised her when she was building I'd build the steps. So I drove down there. It was hot at the beach last couple of days. It might have been rainy here, but it was warm there, and I was in the sun, and I was working on this, and it's very complicated because if you know the North Carolina coast, it has a hurricane just about every other year, and with that, anything that's touching the water gets swept away and you have to rebuild it. Or you can build it like you think it will last, which is what I was doing. And it went on and on and on, and I used up 3 boxes of screws and, I don't know, several hundred board feet of lumber, etc. All that sounds really heroic. And I thought I was being heroic until I started to drive home and I realized I couldn't see. I was just too sleepy and tired to deal with it, right? You know, so I'm facing that, that thing that I've always denied, is that I am invincible. And the invincibility is beginning to wane away. And so you could take that as a loss, or you could take that as an indication that you should move into a deeper state of awareness and not make your heroic moves on the outer, but moves on the willingness to explore many zones inside your own psyche, which some may be scary, some may be alien, and some may be disgusting. So it takes courage to do it, but it brings wholeness to your life when you do it. As I was saying last week, about age 30-something, I started doing this stuff called voice dialogue, which is basically an exploration into the sub-personalities that everybody has, but we basically deny, and we say I, meaning that encompasses the range of me, when in fact we are so many sub-personalities within us. They actually live so much like real human beings, like the total human beings. They have a history, they have a story they like to tell, they have advice they'd like to give, and they would like to be listened to. Sounds like a lot of people, doesn't it? And there are a lot of people in there, or as I like to say, there's a village. It takes a village to be a person. So you have this village inside, and some of those village characters are not as savory as others. Some of them are, well, they're very selfish, or they appear to be selfish. Some appear to be critical. Some are pushers. Some are doers. Some are heroes. Some are mothers. Some are children, etc. You have the whole village in there. You have the village idiot, too. And if you've ever just gone thorn and can't think at all, the village idiot is present and doing his or her job right then, stopping you from doing anything else because you're not ready for it. You're just stuck. Not a bad thing. That's why rabbits go still. There is a place for inactivity. Not every hero should be moving all the time, but they wait for their time. Not every mother needs to intervene with their children all the time. There's a variety inside us, and as we grow in our maturity, we should develop 3 things, is what this book is saying. One of the things is recognizing those sub-personalities. One of those is recognizing all the parts of you. And her way of saying it is you should give them a name. Well, that's exactly what I was learning when I was 30. Give them a name. Give them a definition. Make them real so that you can draw on them and also recognize them when they're knocking at the door. They want to help. They all want to help. They were all there for a purpose. The critic was there so you didn't have to be criticized on the outside. You would know what to do. The pusher took the place of your mother, driving you to do more whatever she wanted you to do, or your father. They all have got a place in your life. And if we want to be whole in the grand sense, coming to acceptance and appreciation for your varied sub-personalities is fundamental. So that's the first thing she says. You should go and look and see what's inside. She calls it shadow work. I don't particularly like the name shadow work. Sounds like it's something nefarious, maybe. It's not. It's a wise exploration of who you are beyond your normal way of claiming who you are. So many of us like to put on a happy face. Some of us like to wear the victim face. And there's also the one who has never been a victim inside you, even if you practice being victim. And there is the loser inside you, even if you declare yourself the constant winner. There's all of that in there. And when we look at it, we are preparing ourselves for looking at anything that comes down the pike. So if you get good at looking at good, bad, and ugly, when good, bad, or ugly shows up in your life, you are better prepared to handle it because you know how to deal with it. You have a relationship with all of it. And to help you be better at having a relationship with all of it, she recommends the second thing. Now, the second thing is essentially meditation or a practice of awareness, a practice of pure awareness, as she would call it. Now, many people think, ooh, that's going to be tough. It's going to be really hard to get to, pure awareness. Maybe as a constant is hard, but it's always, has always, and still is, and always will be in you as you now, right now, in this moment, having never done meditation, you are still in possession of pure awareness because that's your true identity. That's your original identity. It is always active right now. So most of us, most of the time, would be mostly looking outward at the phantasmagoria of life. This manifest world will hold our attention and we'll be locked onto it, and we'll read the highs and lows and what people are thinking and how the world turns and how to make money and how to stay safe and all that. And that will hold our attention so thoroughly that it's almost as though we forget there is something behind that is actually paying attention. All we can see is what we can see. We don't remember there is a seer, a witness, a pure awareness that's watching, that is the actual basis of your consciousness now. It's the basis of you noticing that there's something out there. It is before and always there. And what she's saying is that if you develop an ability to turn your attention and look at that instead of this, then you become able to sit in the witness, in the catbird seat, and watch. And you can watch you. You can watch that. You can watch your mind. You can watch your feelings. You can watch. And there is giving you a bit of space so you don't have to be purely reactive. You can just be aware of it. You can have feelings that are very strong and not pleasant and go, so. Not all of you. I mean, there's a part of you. The manifest self is going to be having that experience, and you're not going to get it just because you can stay in witness. You're not getting out of it that easy. But you can have this place where you sit and you recognize that that is just happening now, temporary, part of it, not all of it. When we're deep into it, into the experience, and we have forgotten the witness, then life is intense with no relief. But the witness gives you that relief and the perspective to look out and go, so, just lost my arm. How about that? Right? Not be completely taken over by the loss. You with me? This cultivation does take effort for most people, but it's always there. And I think sometimes it's put out there as though it were something magical that only deep and profound meditators can get to after hundreds of years, or hundreds of hours, or thousands of hours, or something. No, it's still active right now. So if you just turn your eyes inside out for a moment, you would recognize it's going on right now. One of my favorite ways of practicing that is actually to think of myself as on the Titanic, and you're out there like that. Remember that part? And you go, oh my gosh, because the thing that closes in our ability to recognize the witness state is this I statement. I'm doing this. This I'm the doer is doing this. I'm seeing. No, it's me who's seeing. That is what restricts the full experience of the witness, because that kind of closes it in and tightens it up. But when you peel your mind back like this and stop being an I, kind of like they were on that ship, just being propelled through life, the seeing is happening without your effort. It's always been there, always, and it's going to go on even without your I-ness, right? So drop the I for a while, and you can still look out, but you know you're looking out, not you're looking out. Looking out is happening without you, and always has been. A quirk of this is that they have done studies on motor activity, and people will raise their hand, and then they will say, then they will have the thought, I'm raising my hand. First they're doing it, and then they're saying it. The ego is quick to claim the activity that's actually normal. I'm doing this. Oh, what a good boy am I. Stuck my thumb, pulled out a plum. Yeah, that one. So just let this I become softer, and let your attention just see without claiming the doing of it. That's a practice you can do with your eyes open. Meditation is another. Some form of relaxing the practice way of thinking, seeing, so that you can develop the witness. Now that's the second one. And the third one is an awareness of death. Now the awareness of death was one of the things that kicked Buddha into being Buddha. As you know the story, Buddha was a lucky prince. He had a father who didn't want him to suffer at all, and so he made a courtyard where only beautiful, healthy, young people were. And there was dancing and celebrating and archery and all the fun things that princes did 2,500 years ago. One day he left and he saw, in succession, he saw an old person, a sick person, and a dead person. And it freaked him out. He had never seen those. And Buddha said, I can't handle this. What is this about? And then he saw a monk, and he goes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to become a monk. I'm going to see if I can solve the world's problems. Which is why he went into this extreme practice of meditation and asceticism, and he got so skinny that you could touch his spine by pushing against his navel. He was really wearing himself out, and finally he realizes, no, it's not extremism, it's actually, you need enough energy, you need enough effort, you need both to make it work. And so he started a normal path and did his meditation, and finally he says, I think I'm really close. I'm not going to get up until I have full realization. And what did that do to relieve the suffering? Was it brought awareness to the situation that our resistance to that experience, our need for things to be different, is the suffering, not the facts of getting older or sick or dying. It's our resistance to that. And our awakening is coming into the witness state enough and becoming accepting enough of these events in our life, which subpersonality work is a preparation for, that he could encounter all of life with aso. And I don't have to have it be different for me to know all is well. This is an awakening. And this is why, if you start early and young, you get to practice it before they have the test. And the test is coming for all of us. I was thinking about those who expect to be exceptional. And there are always some of us that think, oh yeah, everybody does except for me, right? We live in a state of denial pretty often anyway, but why not do it on that too? Yeah, I'll get out of it alive. One of the things I've noticed is that where I was going, where's it? Oh, I know, the rapture. You can get out without ever dying, right? Just be lifted up. So you could change churches and we won't have to deal with this conversation. But this essence of spiritual maturity is really this one where you can sit in the witness seat, experiencing all that's happening. Come to it with an open heart and without resistance, and the suffering, not the pain, will be gone. The I can't stand this will be gone. And you know that as we get closer to death, there will be a time in which you might want to say, no, I've gone, I can't handle it anymore. And many of us say that on a daily basis, I can't handle it anymore. It's just prep. It's prep for the next transition, for the awakening to something that does not die. And as you tap into this pure awareness, what you're tapping into is that same consciousness that is, we would call God, or some people would call God, that is just aware of everything. And in many of the circles where they're in doing and creating is still a big part of their spiritual practice, this is the place from which creation occurs. And so you have access to power, freedom, and insight you couldn't get by just living normal life. You have to attend to this inner life. And that's one of the beauties of retiring or being ill, because you're forced to stop and pay attention. And that the suffering that's happening, or the pain that's happening, or the slowness that's happening while you're sick, all of that is an invitation to look deeper. I was talking with Mimi. You know, Mimi is the, our pastoral care minister, and as we say in the South, bless her heart. She's been kind of knocked out for, 2 months now. Just not able to get about and tired and having to really rest much of the day. And this is not the first time it's happened. And so she knows the field. And I said, so tell me about it. And she goes, well, I never have this happen that I don't have some deepening, some insight that makes it worth it. She's using it. It's not just happening to her. She's using it to deepen and to go in and to see what's going on. It's not she's just resisting it. She's using it. And I think what this book from using age is an inspiration, and using death as a motivation for us to move deeper and not just be surface people, right? Not just have everything work out, not make that the goal, but making awakening to our true nature the goal. It's a good game. It's a game that you can play when you're losing and still win. I'm winning. Yes, I'm getting older. I can't do this. I can't do that. But I'm winning. And for those of us who really need to win, it's a good thing. So let's contemplate this. If you haven't bought the book and you want to get involved with this, I think it would be good. We're trying to really prepare ourselves that our total legacy of who we are when we are gone will be a positive one that we would be proud of. And there are things to do on the outer, and there are things to do on the inner to set that up. So we'll be engaged in this process throughout the year, but take this deep dive into what it is to not be a body, to be something other than just your body, and see if it doesn't fill some spaces that even success can't do, that even winning on a physical, financial, romantic sense cannot do. Maybe there's something that only this can do, and it's worth your time and effort. Let us pray. Let's start with the body. What a great vehicle for the display of creation, exploration, sensation. It gives us capacity, it gives us strength, it gives us a place for consciousness to rest. But it's not all of you. You have a body. You're not the body. You have a car. You're not your car. And though we're much more connected with our bodies than any other thing, and it is precious, and it is beautiful, you are more than that. And when life has been difficult, perhaps these words will come back to you from the Course in Miracles. We ask for rest today and quietness unshaken by the world's appearances. We ask for peace and stillness in the midst of all the turmoil born of clashing dreams. We ask for safety and for happiness, although we seem to look on danger and sorrow. We have the thought that will answer our asking with what we request. I rest in God. This thought will bring you the rest and quiet, peace and stillness, and the safety and happiness you seek. I rest in God. This thought has power to wake the sleeping truth in you, whose vision sees beyond appearances to that same truth in everyone and everywhere there is. Here is the end of suffering for all the world, and everyone who ever came and yet will come to linger for a while. Here is the thought in which the Son of God is born again to recognize himself. Let us rest in God.
I hope you got something out of today's service. We intend to bring you things that will help you in your life become more of who you want to be, give you the freedom of forgiveness and the hope of expectancy that your life will unfold in a way that brings you joy, happiness, and is a contribution to the world. If you would like to contribute to this ministry, please go to unitytriangle.org, hit the donate button, and it will lead you into an easy way of doing that. We thank you for your attention and look forward to seeing you again here.